Listen, I'm going to go into this. I have an example. I want to show what happens if you're stuck in a mortgage at a high interest rate. I like to go over that. And what I have here is a $250,000 mortgage at 7%. Let's take a look at that payment. Okay, so I've got a $250,000 mortgage here, and we focus on payments. All right, now we're talking about a 3 or 4 bedroom house in some areas, and even at $1,663.26 is less than rent on a 2 or 3 bedroom apartment. Okay, even at 7%. So don't let that fool you. So let's go down and take a look at, here's what you want to pay attention to. Okay, $250,000 at 7%. How much does the bank want in interest? Kurt, are you seeing this? How much do they want in interest on a $250,000 loan?
$348,773.60.
That's just the interest, folks. So the total cost of this home is not $250,000. It is $598,773, but it's at a payment we can afford because it's less than the rent on the same number of bedrooms in an apartment complex in their area. Are you hearing me? Okay.
Wow.
So take that money. All right. So let's just say you're in a situation where you have to get an interest rate like this. Let's see how you can take advantage of a 7% interest rate. Are you ready? All right. And this is probably the first time I've done this example. Okay. So here we go. The very first payment, $204 goes to principal. $1,458.33 goes to interest. So Kurt, when we take a look at this, what is the principal amount for the second payment? What is the principal amount for the second payment?
$206.12.
And you know, we've talked about how to prepay the second payment. I mean, it's just an example.
Mm-hmm.
So do you see when you have a high interest rate, do you see how tiny the principal payments are? Because that's what you attack the loan with. Okay. So now let's take a look at 1 year's worth of payments. So we got $2,500 here. Take a look at cumulative principal. Take a look at cumulative interest. Okay. This is why banking can be so devastating if you don't know how to read this thing. So to pay our loan down by $2,500, the bank wants $17,000 in interest, correct?
Yes.
And people will look at that and say, oh my gosh, that is horrendous. But here's what I'm trying to tell you. Interest costs you skip don't matter. One more time. Interest costs you skip don't matter. So Kurt, if this is January's payment on payment number 1, February's principal payment is number 2. If we prepay the $206.12, are we not paid down to line 2 in January?
Yes.
And then our next mortgage payment would be on line 3. So we got rid of one whole line from our schedule for only $206, correct?
Yes, that's what I'm seeing on screen.
What happened to this $1,457.14 in interest?
It is canceled.
It's canceled. So if I have an extra $2,539.56 sitting in my bank, do I have to pay my mortgage in 12 monthly installments to give them $2,539? Or if I had it, could I give it to them all at one time?
You can give it to them all at one time.
If I did, would I be paid down to line 12 in 1 month?
Yes.
What would happen to all this interest?
$17,419 would be canceled.
Come on, folks. This is what I'm talking about. So interest costs you skip don't matter. So even if you're stuck in a high interest rate loan, your principal payment is so small. Do you know I met a couple who had a 9% loan? Watch what happens at 9%. This was a couple in New York. 9%. Watch this. I'm going to take this out. 9%. Watch what happens to the principal payment on a 9% loan. No one wants to pay $474,000 interest on a $250,000 loan, making the total interest paid as a percentage of principal 189.665%. And folks, this is totally legal. May not be moral, but it's legal. How can we take advantage of this? Now look at our principal payments, $136. So could you come up with an extra $137 to throw at the mortgage? Boom. Look what happens. Here's our payment. Here's our payment on that, $2,000. Right about what we would be paying for a comparable number of bedrooms in certain areas in an apartment complex for 3 or 4 bedrooms. What? So I can move that money over to a mortgage even at 9% if that's what I'm stuck with. But you can do great things with even a high interest rate loan if you know how to read this thing and focus on the principal payments. Okay, so now watch the same loan at what we're trying to do to get it down to 2.3%. Okay, we're trying to get it down to 2.3. Watch this. So now we're down to 2.3, but now look at the principal payments. I have to come up with an extra how much money on line 2, Kurt, to get rid of one payment now?
$483.76. It was $193 before.
So now here's what I'm talking about, folks. Avoid the high interest rate, avoid the very lowest interest rate, and find the right interest rate that's going to adjust this principal payment for you so that you and your family can make the most of this loan to get out of debt in 7 to 9 years. Because only how much money you have left over after all the bills are paid, it applies only to you. All right. Your neighbor's different. Your cousin is different. Your brother's different. Your parents are different. This is what's happening in you and your family. Find the right interest rate that's going to adjust this principal payment for you so that you can take advantage of this amortization schedule and get out of debt in record time by saving the maximum amount of interest, because we're going to be able to attack these principal payments and knock off the interest and payments. It's amazing once you know what to do.
But Don has some valuable information that can contribute to the quality of a person's life. And it only costs you a few dollars. It's his book. Why not get that?
I'm going to go through the P.I.L. method myself with some of my investment properties. So I'm going to link up with Don, and then I'm going to sit down with him, show him my investment portfolio, and see how I can eliminate interest.